Hello and welcome to the Talk Football podcast. My name's Tommy Hay and I'm joined here by the editor of Get Spanish Football News Online, Kieran Quayle. Kieran, we're well and truly up and running in La Liga now. How have you enjoyed the fixtures so far?
Yeah, the games have been coming thick and fast. It's very enjoyable so far. Plenty of action to look forward to every day, and it's just looking at kind of new teams, looking to see if they're going to continue as they left before the 3-month pause. But yeah, it's good to have it back. How are you keeping?
Yeah, really enjoying it. I'm by no means tired of having football every day. I think my girlfriend might be already a wee bit tired of it, but it's good. You've always got something to talk about, and as we said last week, it's a complete contrast to what it was before. Trying to keep the enthusiasm going. You know, now that you've got actual football on, you can talk about football every day and what's actually happening on the pitch. So, you know, that's really good. And like last night, for example, we had 3 games and they were all interesting and in their own way, weren't they? So yeah, it's been great to watch. Let's talk about the games yesterday. We'll get right into it. We'll start with Villarreal and Mallorca. Now, I thought Mallorca were really unlucky in this one. They hit the bar twice, both sides of of half time. And I don't know, how did you see this one?
I was watching Getafe Espanyol.
Ah, right.
I didn't get to see that one because they were on at the same time. So I watched Getafe and I think it was a good result. Looking at Villarreal's result on paper, like 1-0 home to Mallorca, maybe expected more. They're a good team, but I didn't get to see the game. What was it like as a spectacle?
I think Mallorca played really well. And it's sort of been a symptom of them generally this season. There are teams that play well on the pitch, and you can't really fault them for anything. But they really had absolutely no luck in this game. As I say, hitting the bar twice, and Villarreal just took the chance that they got. It was Carlos Baca that scored the goal. Do you remember how good he was at Sevilla?
Colombian legend.
Yeah, do you know he scored those two? He scored those two in the Europa League final.
He lit it up there, didn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, he scored 34 goals for them. And obviously he'll be well remembered for the 2 goals he scored against Dnipro in the Europa League final 2015. He's one of these guys, just another Sevilla player that left, you know, as soon as a big club becomes interested in him. In this case, it was Milan. He signed for Milan. He only really properly played there for 2 years, and he wasn't terrible. He was all right, but he got loaned back to Spain for Villarreal, and he's basically just been there ever since. Hopefully now you'd love to see him back scoring again, because he was great to watch when he was at Sevilla. But so yeah, I mean that was great news for Villarreal. They're getting that. Unlucky again for Mallorca, and yeah, just you do wonder they would probably be one of the prime candidates to go down at this stage.
Yeah, they've got a massive game on Friday against Leganés. So they haven't picked up any points from their first 2. Obviously, against Barcelona and Villarreal, it was a very difficult start for them. So they'll be looking at that Leganés game thinking, we need to win this one. Leganés are going to be looking like that as well, because they lost last night against Barcelona in the game that was on after. But it was hard to choose last night. I was looking at the fixtures and I saw Getafe Espanyol and Villarreal Mallorca, and both of them starting at the same time. But because I've got this strange excitement about Espanyol staying up this season with all their new players that come in January, I was like, no, I like Getafe. I'm always intrigued by Getafe's 4-4-2, and I never get bored of it, even though people say they've got this direct style and they're boring to watch and they're physical. I actually like watching them, but I definitely chose the wrong game last night. There was a red card after 16 minutes, and apart from that, like, Espanyol were down to 10 men. Your man was probably thinking, how have I got sent off against Getafe? Getafe are supposed to be the bullies. I can't believe this is happening. And he was very unfortunate. It was a disgrace of a decision, because he wasn't even looking at Damian Suarez. And Suarez went down as if he was headbutted. It was literally just like his face. I thought he was really unlucky, Bernardo, and that kind of give Getafe the advantage, but they didn't take it. Espanyol stayed in the game. And how do you set up against a 4-4-2 Getafe when you go to 10 men? You go 4-4-1. You just play with the lone striker, and they kept it tight, and they were able to to stay in the game, and Diego Lopez at the end, very experienced goalkeeper, kept them in it with an unbelievable double save, and only for that Getafe I think would have won it right at the death. But yeah, it was probably the wrong game to choose, but I think just looking at the two fixtures, I said no, I'll go and watch the game in the Coliseum.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it was necessarily the wrong game to choose. I don't think Espanyol went out to draw the game 0-0 or anything like that. It was just the circumstances. When you go down to 10 men that early, how else are you supposed to play? You're away from home against a team that's chasing a Champions League position. You're rock bottom, trying to get anything out of the match. It was always going to be a low-scoring game after that sending off, which, yeah, completely agree with you. I think it was a complete disgrace. And Suarez, it's just like, I can't describe to you how much I hate that. Just professional footballers trying to get fellow professionals sent off.
I know. And
it was a slight touch in the face. It wasn't even like he stuck out his arm in a kind of forceful manner. He makes slight contact, and anybody else, if he did that to him in the street, he wouldn't be rolling about,
Exactly.
Only because he's trying to get the guy sent off. So we can blame the referee and all that. Maybe he should have had a closer look and used common sense, but Suarez, no, not impressed at all. So yeah, that was disappointing. Getafe, what is going wrong for them? Was it just were they confronted with a difficult task last night and a team that was camping, defensively for large parts of the game, or is there something else going wrong there with them? Because they didn't win their last game either. They dropped points.
Yeah, they've now lost against Granada and drawn at home to Espanyol, so Bordalas won't be happy with that. I think they're basically going out the same way. We all know how to play, and he hasn't changed his style for 3 years. It's a 4-4-2. Cucurella and Neom, two people who would have previously played in fullback roles, are playing on the wing, and then he went with Mata, Molina. He actually brought in Mata, and he brought in Aaron Barry as well in the middle. So it was an even stronger team that lined out against Granada the previous game week. So I don't really see much like difference in the actual team's play. I think last night was maybe a bit sluggish, and before the break they would have beaten Espanyol. But the break has also benefited Espanyol, and I think they're just a better team. So I don't think both of these teams started the season in Europe. They both went to the Europa League, Getafe and Espanyol, and you look at the table last night, Getafe in 5th, Espanyol in the relegation zone. It's kind of hard to believe that they both started in Europe at the beginning of the season. But no, I don't think Getafe have changed too much. I don't think there's any real standout problem. It's just, after 3 months, it probably will take certain teams a few days to get going. Yeah,
there was a suggestion before all this kicked off that Getafe would maybe struggle as a result of the lack of fan noise, because obviously there are no fans in there. That was a big part of the worries that a lot of teams had coming to Getafe. I don't know who it was. Somebody described it earlier in the season as like going to the dentist, because it was such an unpleasant experience. The fans are on top of you. You got a very physical team, as we know, that make every minute difficult for you. I think the fans are a big part of that, and perhaps, I don't know, it's difficult to tell. Pardon me, it's difficult to tell, but it's possible that could have quite a big impact on, particularly in the home games.
Yeah, I think the lack of fans will benefit the big clubs, because if you're going to a smaller team and they've got the so-called 12th man, it's harder to play. It's harder to play if you go to the Sanchez Pizjuan or even the Benito Villamarin. Like, it's 50,000 people in the Benito Villamarin, and Betis are mid-table. But if you're going to Betis and they don't have that 12th man, like Granada the other night showed, they got a 2-2 draw there, and it wouldn't have been as intimidating for those Granada players going to Betis. So I think it will favour the bigger teams, because they'll be going to different grounds, and they won't have to put up with that kind of hostility, likes of Barcelona, Real Madrid, going to the smaller clubs, and they're just playing in it's like a one-off venue with no fans, and it's just 11v11, and their quality will come through. It won't be put off, and I think they're able to focus more on the game as well without a rocking stadium. So I think the benefit will go to the bigger teams there with the lack of fans. But yeah, Getafe, even without fans, they're just a physical side. Big strikers, big players. They get stuck in and they have their style, and it works for them. It works for them. They're in the like they don't like here we are. We're probably talking a little bit negatively because they've only picked up 1 point in 6. But I think they deserve huge credit for like where they are. They're still 5th in the table, and look set to get a Europa League or Champions League. But Champions League probably not so much. But they're fighting for Europe, and I think any season Getafe does that is a very, very good season.
Yeah, you've got to be realistic about what historically the club's expectations have been. So it's a bit of a golden era for them. I know it's disappointing drawing at home to the likes of Espanyol, but it's that just shows you how far they've come. So yeah, I would like, you mentioned Betis Granada earlier. I would like to talk about that a little bit later, but we'll just finish last night's section by talking about the Barcelona game. What did you make of Barcelona's performance? 2-0 against Leganés.
Yeah, they weren't great. Leganés actually started quite well. They had 2 amazing chances early on with Guerrero, and they really should have put them away, because you were looking at those chances, and Longley cleared one off the line, and you were just thinking, you aren't going to get any more chances in this game.
Yeah.
Definitely not better chances, but like that's it. I was looking at that, and there was 14 minutes gone, and it could have been 2 up, and you're just thinking, okay, like that's it. Now Barcelona are going to just dominate the game, and they're going to eventually carve away and break you down and score, and that's what happened. And Barcelona weren't great. Leganés set up with 5 at the back. It was like a flat 5 with 3 in the middle, and then 2 guys roaming up top. And like that team on paper had only scored 1 goal all season, that Leganés team, because they obviously lost Braithwaite to Barcelona. He's gone, and then they sold El Nesri to Sevilla. And Oscar Rodriguez, their current top scorer, was suspended. So there's no real goal scorers or no threat. So Aguirre went there and he's like, right, let's set up 2 banks of 4, and the first bank is going to have 5 defenders. So they kind of made it difficult, and Barcelona didn't really enjoy it, and they weren't really able to break them open in the first stages. And then a lovely finish by Fadi just before halftime. Very, very nice finish. Good work from Firpo to win the ball, and then Fadi kind of got it out of his feet and buried it into the bottom corner. So that was his 5th of the season. Not bad for a 17-year-old, and he's been linked with other moves away. But yeah, I don't think it was real Barcelona performance. Like they had huge amounts of possession, and they're playing like Quique Setién football. They're not gonna like beat you on the counter attack or like play fast pace. It's just gonna be, let's keep the ball and let's tire out the opposition, and that's kind of what happened. And Leganés were literally just chasing the ball for 90 minutes, and those early chances were missed, and that was really it then. Like Aguirre ended up getting sent off. It's been a frustrating few months for him as well, because he's lost Braithwaite, and it's just not been ideal for him down there. Like they're rock bottom now. They're 20th after Espanyol got that point at Getafe, and it doesn't look good for Leganés. It doesn't bode well, and they have that big game against Mallorca coming up. But after the game, Rakitic said that Barcelona aren't where they're supposed to be. They're just not as fit, because obviously with the break and stuff. But he said we're not at our best yet. He was so honest. And like a lot of teams, they just won't be. They're going to need a few games to get that match fitness back and the sharpness back. But at least he came out and he wasn't robotic. He actually gave like a kind of a bit of insight and an honest answer.
Yeah, which is always welcome from footballers, because they tend to come out with their scripts, don't they? And they don't really say anything of substance a lot, in these post-match interviews. But yeah, the Barca thing was weird, particularly in the first half. As you say, defensively, they had a bit of a hiccup at the beginning. Guerrero could have scored 2 goals, but generally speaking, defensively they were all right. Again, against a Leganés team that didn't really have much firepower. Going forward was weird, because they didn't really look like they had too much of a cutting edge. Griezmann even looked isolated at times when he was up front, and it wasn't the easiest match for him. And Messi was doing a thing that he was doing during the Valverde era when things weren't going particularly well, was that he was dropping back to get the ball, and he was dropping back from deep to get it and try and launch attacks from deep. That obviously works when you've got somebody like Messi, particularly for the second goal. That run he did from fairly far back was incredible, and not many players can do that. But you do wonder if that's now part of the game plan from Setién, just to let Messi do that if he wants to, or if it's a sign that perhaps things going forward, the link up between the midfielders and the strikers isn't going well. It's kind of impossible to tell, because we're not really, we're not in the dressing room. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes. But it wasn't too convincing a performance from Barca from an attacking point of view.
Yeah, Griezmann definitely wasn't himself. And I think maybe Messi's dropping into those deeper roles because Busquets isn't having his best season either. And like he was dropping fairly deep last night. And we all know that Messi kind of makes lots of decisions there at the club. So maybe it is him thinking, okay, this is how we're going to play. I'm going to drop in and I'm going to get us moving again and basically pick it up off the defenders and go from there. But like Messi showed lots of sides to his game last night. Like at one stage he was chasing the ball into the far corner, into Leganés' half, and he's 33 next week and he was running into that corner like an 18-year-old. So like he was showing all types, like pressing, dropping deep, all over. And then Griezmann showed a bit of his old Atletico Madrid style last night as well. Like he made a few run backs and he went back and maybe, I don't know, into Barca's half at one stage to chase the ball and won it. And his work rate's really, really good. And I suppose if he's not playing well, he needs to show that because he's going to have to get praise from some type of play. So he got less completed passes than Ter Stegen last night. Ter Stegen is basically playing as this sweeper, and he made 34 completed passes last night, which is he's made higher passes before, but and like his rate last night I think was maybe 60% or 70% completed passes. So like he had over 50 passes, which is like a pass every 2 minutes. So he's just constantly coming out. And yeah, when I saw those stats that Griezmann had less passes than Stegen, I was a little bit worried for Griezmann. But the fact that he's still persistent with him, like Setien knows he's quality and he's going to have to persist with him. And he took off Fadi first, and I was hoping he wouldn't take off Griezmann because I like Griezmann. And I was thinking if he takes off Griezmann as the first sub in the 50-something minute, like this isn't going to be good for his confidence at all. Yeah. And then Griezmann actually scored, but it was offside. Semedo was offside. So that would have made it 2-0, and it went to VAR, and Semedo was just a foot offside out on the right wing.
He was so marginally offside, wasn't he?
Yeah, it was very, very close. But Griezmann finished it really, really well. So like even though it wasn't a goal, I think that'll help him a little bit because he does need that. And then they brought Suarez on, so it was Suarez, Griezmann, Messi. And I suppose like Fadi's on form, but if Setien's looking for his strongest team with a fit Suarez, I think he'll be playing him alongside Griezmann and Messi because he wants to persist with him. It's still his first season at the club. I know it's not going well for Griezmann, but it hasn't been going great for Barca. It's not Barcelona that you kind of expect.
No. I mean, the thing is, so Suarez isn't fit. Braithwaite obviously is and did really well against Mallorca. He didn't feature last night, but the people are saying that Griezmann's position is, if anybody's position is going to be under threat from Braithwaite, it will be Griezmann. Would it not be Suarez given his fitness? Or is it just a question of, Suarez is who he is, he is the player that he is, he's always going to be first pick if it's possible, so Griezmann will have to make way?
I think so, yeah. But they're all kind of interchangeable because he plays with the three up top and they all switch. Like Suarez is capable of going wide, so is Griezmann, so is Braithwaite, so is Messi, and then they're all capable of playing through the middle as well. So he's got lots of options. And then Fadi is probably the most natural winger of them all. So he'll slot in there on the, like he did last night, on the left wing. And Messi was kind of out on the right, and then Griezmann was through the middle. So they can change it around, and he has lots of options, which is really good for Setien. And I think if they keep Messi fit, they'll win the league because he is who he is. Like, he's 33 next week, and this day week he'll turn 33. And so far this season, he scored 21 goals in La Liga, and he's got 14 assists. So if they keep that going, like I don't see them slipping up. And they're now 5 points ahead of Madrid, but Madrid have that game in hand against Valencia tomorrow, which is a tough one.
Yeah, so it's going to be a really tricky one. So there was a thing I have to mention this. You were talking about Stegen and about his pass rate and stuff like that. Did you see about 5 minutes to go, he came right out of his box, like he ended up almost at the halfway line, and the Spanish commentator said, Ter Stegen leaves his box to take control of the ball with the look of a man leaving his house to have a coffee at 8 o'clock in the morning. The most Spanish comment you can ever have of such a thing. But he does look cool when he comes out of, he's like Neuer. And there's obviously a link there. He's obviously watched Neuer and learned from Neuer. But he's been
very, very good on the ball. He's very good on the ball, isn't he? Like he gave an interview a couple of months ago during COVID. He's quite a friendly chap, and he was making, it was with the Barcelona YouTube channel, and he was making coffee, and he was showing them how to make a flat white, and he poured this amazing flat white in his kitchen. And then, like, halfway through the conversation, he was like, I actually don't know anything about football. I haven't a clue about football. Like, my friends come over and we watch games, and I don't know who certain players are. So I don't think he'll be our ideal guest for this podcast.
He's got no football knowledge at all.
He knows how to make a good coffee, though.
Well, he's a multi-talented man, but who knows nothing about football. I suppose they do exist. They don't have to study it. We're the ones that study football because we can't play football as well as they can. So everybody has to play to their strengths, I suppose. Let's talk about. I'd like to talk about Betis just now, and then we'll look ahead to some of the other games. Betis and Granada ended up being an absolute thriller in the last 5 minutes. It wasn't the greatest of games otherwise, and I thought it was a very frustrating night for Betis. But yeah, it totally came alive with 5 minutes to go. Betis equalised, brought it back to 1-1, then went 2-1 up, and then threw it away at the end. Where do you see Rubi's future at Betis? Because I think just that they seemed to be, the energy in the team just wasn't there. It was a pretty duff performance from them from start to finish. 2-1 would have really flattered them, and 2-2, I think they were lucky to get away with the draw from that. And I think Granada will have felt hard done by it. Where do you see Rubi's future?
Yeah, he's clearly under fire, but the only thing I'd say is that it's not a really poor Granada team, and they conceded right at the end. Betis, this conceded from a Roberto Soldado strike in the 91st minute. So, like, he was obviously devastated. They were 2-1 up. They were going to win an Andalusian derby after they'd lost the Seville derby. So I think he might get a couple of games, but it's coming into that really strange time now of the season where there's only 10 games left. So what do? Do you sack him now? Because you can't sack him in 3 games or 4 games, because then it's too late. They're currently 13th. They're 9 points above the drop zone, and they have quality. I think the problem is he's not getting the most out of those players. He's not getting the most out of a very, very good team. They're 13th in La Liga. It should be much higher than that. It should be higher than Granada. Granada's just newly promoted, but they have a much better team when you look at their team than Granada do. But Granada got the first goal through Carlos Fernandez, who is actually on loan from Sevilla, so he would have enjoyed that, scoring in the Benito Villamarín. He looks like a very good player, and yeah, it just came alive then in the last few minutes, and he started Joaquin, which I think was kind of necessary. He didn't start him in the Seville derby, and obviously Joaquin's 38, so he's not going to be starting every game. But yeah, he's under fire. But we saw earlier in the season he was under fire as well, like lots of pressure, and there was that game against Celta Vigo. Whoever loses this is going to get sacked, and Betis won it, and he was able to keep his job. And then he got a good draw at the Bernabeu the following week as well, in a 0-0 draw. So he kind of got a little run together. So I don't know, they might keep him. There's talk of Marcelino looking at coming in. He's a very, very good coach. He's been at Villarreal, he's been at Valencia. Like, he's been quite successful getting teams into Europe, and he is a very disciplined coach. He likes to have his players super fit. So he would be a very good option. And you look at Rubi's track record in Primera, it's not very good. No. He's lost 50 games in just over 100 games. That's between managing Espanyol and Betis this season as well. So he's not got a great record, but I don't know. I think like they need to act quickly or give him till the end of the season, because I think like if you give him 4 or 5 more games, then there's not enough time. Then it's going to be a proper scrap for someone to come in and try and keep them up. So I don't know, but there's a very, very funny video on Twitter going around yesterday. El Dia Después put it up, and it was during the Seville derby. Rubi was sitting on the bench beside Joaquin. We all know that Joaquin's like one of the funniest people in Spanish football, and they're shaking like the Sevilla. Well, they're not really shaking their hands because you've got all these rules now and protocols. Yeah. But Rubi gets up to kind of say hello to one of the Sevilla players, and his chair folds back and he falls on his arse. And Joaquin's looking at all this, and Joaquin lifts the chair, kind of pulls the chair down for him to be able to sit on it. So Rubi gets back up onto his chair, and he's kind of a bit surprised that he's fallen off his chair. And Joaquin is busting himself inside, but he manages to hold his own and he stays composed. and he doesn't let it slip in front of his manager. But Joaquin's such a master that you just know he's laughing so much.
Yeah.
Like the gaffer is just falling on his arse right beside him, and he's helped him up like an absolute gentleman. He's helped him back onto the chair, and he's totally ignored the whole thing.
Yeah, I know. It was crazy, but Ruby looked shell shocked in the same way. Have you ever seen? I think everybody's seen it. The Only Fools and Horses episode when Del Boy falls through the bar. You know, when the bar gets lifted up, and he falls through, and when he stands back up, he looks like properly shell shocked, and that's exactly what Ruby looked like. And I think he hurt his arm pretty badly. So, yeah, Joaquin managed to keep it together. I suppose the situation, having was that after the game that happened?
I don't know. I don't think so, because they were sitting down. Like if it was after the game, they would have been walking off, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. Or maybe they were having a chat. It could have been post match and they were just having a chat. I don't know.
Because I've only seen that one Dia Después clip. So in that, I don't think they say if it's after or before the game. But yeah, in any case, like obviously maybe it was the seriousness of the situation that made Joaquin not laugh.
Going well. Yeah, the club isn't going well. And maybe if they were sitting in 6th, Joaquin would be laughing at him.
Yeah.
But they're 13th.
Yeah, not good. I suppose when it's not going well for you, it really isn't going well for you. It seems to be, everything goes wrong. So, okay, well, let's have a look at tonight's matches. I'll just get the fixture list up here. Atletico. Now, Atletico obviously dropped points against Bilbao at the weekend. It wasn't an easy game, but they'll be looking to take all three tonight, no?
Yeah, they will, but it's a tough one, isn't it? And they're not scoring goals. And I think Osasuna will be pretty confident after their draw against Real Sociedad during the week. Atletico have João Félix to call back upon. He's going to supposedly start in the hole there behind Diego Costa. He'll fill in for Marcos Llorente, who's been kind of trialled out in this new role, more attacking role for him after his 2 goals against Liverpool in Anfield. So there's a couple of changes. Obviously, every team's making changes because the games are coming so quickly. Like you've got games every 3 or 4 days. So Simeone's going to do the same thing. And it looks like that's going to be the big call, really, that João Félix is coming back in, because he was suspended for the last game against Athletic Club over the weekend because he picked up 5 yellow cards. And then prior to that, he was out for a couple of weeks from sustaining a knee sprain. So he'll be, it's kind of like another chance for him as well, because a bit like Griezmann, massive money signing, 126 million euro, huge pressure for a 20-year-old, and it just hasn't really gone that well. And Simeone spoke in his press conference before the game via video. It was like a video conference. It was kind of strange. Obviously, no journalists are there, and he's just talking into a camera. But he was saying that, he's played well. João Félix has played well against Villarreal. He's played well against Liverpool. So, clearly trying to build his confidence and speak highly of him in front of the press. But I think inside, Félix will be kind of kicking himself, and he'll be probably putting himself under more pressure than he should be, because his stats or his goals just aren't where they possibly could be. But he's still very young, and I hope it works for him, because they're not scoring goals at Atletico, and that's the only thing. If they want to get a Champions League spot, you'd trust Simeone to get them into a top 4 place. They're currently 6th. You would trust them to get there, but they need to score goals. And it was kind of pretty much the same thing against Athletic Club over the weekend. They just didn't. They had a couple of chances, but they didn't look like a team that were going to go and score loads of goals. So it looks like the same thing from them, kind of struggling in front of goal and lacking creativity in midfield. But again, it's only one game that we can judge them on, and it's a big test tonight against Osasuna.
Yeah, and Osasuna themselves haven't looked too bad either. I've been quite surprised by how well they've done, despite the fact that they've lost Chimi Avila, who was the main man for them. He does crochet in. When was that? That would have been
January.
January. It was right at the beginning of the year. So they've actually we kind of predicted them to bomb completely, but we thought they would survive based on the first half of the season that they'd had, which was decent. But no, they've been decent. They've been really good. It's been a pleasant surprise. And not an easy place, as you say, for Atletico to go. Who else looks like they're going to get a start in that game? Lamar. Is that a surprise for you, Thomas Lamar?
Yeah, not really, to be honest. You need to call upon these players. There's just so many games, and Lamar again, under huge pressure, like João Félix, the whole world, especially in France, they're looking at him thinking, what's happened to you? Like you're coming into your prime, you're only 24, 70 million euro, and just hasn't produced the goods, hasn't scored a goal in over a year. And, you know, like came with a huge pedigree, but it just doesn't work in Simeone's system. Like he's kind of an out and out left winger, and he just doesn't work in that system, because Simeone plays in a way that allows the fullbacks to become the wingers. So he'll start with like a 4-4-2, but when you watch them play, they'll go to 3 at the back and it'll turn into a 3-5-2. And the 5 in the middle are basically 2 wing backs, so Trippier and Lodi, and they bomb forward. And then he kind of packs the midfield with Partey, Stahl and Koke, and then Costa will come and drop into that kind of midfield as well. So the width comes from the fullbacks. So Lamar just hasn't fit into the system. And he's probably, at this stage, if he was to fit into a Simeone system, he'd be better through the middle, where he'd get that freedom. But he's gonna obviously give that role to João Félix. So he's gonna go in there. And then I don't know if it's just gonna come to a stage now where Lamar is gonna be let go, or so like his market value will have dropped, not just because of COVID, but because of his performances, and he might just need to get out of there and get a move somewhere else, because I just don't think he fits into the system there.
But I think for a team, if there are teams out there that are looking to sign an out and out left winger, as you say, and the market value does drop, I think it's going to be a bargain, because he's such a talented player. You know, it's just that he just doesn't really fit into the Atletico team for the reasons that you've outlined, but he's still got it. You know, he hasn't lost the talent or the ability. It's just a question of he just doesn't fit into that squad. But yeah, it could be an absolute bargain if you're looking for a left winger for your side. But okay, let's get on to. I mean, there are so many good games, and this is the problem that we're going to have over the next week or so, is choosing what games to talk about. We have to talk about Real Madrid and Valencia, which is on Thursday, late kickoff on Thursday, 10 o'clock. This is going to be a big one.
Yeah, this is going to be a big one. I was supposed to go to this game 3 months ago. My mate was coming over for a weekend, and that was the game we were looking at to get tickets for. And it's funny now, 3 months on, we're going to be watching it, but that's just the way it's gone. It's been a bit mad. Yeah, it's always a big fixture, isn't it? Like Real Madrid, Valencia, 2 big clubs. They drew 1-1 in Mestalla in November. Courtois got that assist very, very late on. And I think it's a different Valencia team now under Salades. They're probably a little bit more, I don't know, they're not as fun, not as exciting, and they're shipping goals. But I think he's going to try and set up in a way that they'll defend, and because they're so light at the back as well, he'll be looking to kind of protect any sort of incoming attacks from width or from Benzema dropping deep. I think he's going to go out and kind of keep it as compact as possible. But then Madrid are playing at home in the Alfredo Di Stefano, which they're very well used to because it's part of the training complex. And they're after scoring 3 goals against Eibar. So I think they'll be ready for it. Valverde will probably come back in and give them a little bit more dynamism in the midfield, and he kind of gives them that bit of energy. And then they've so many players to call upon as well. Like they've a huge squad. Like Rodrigo started up front, well, in the attacking 3 with Hazard and Benzema last week, and that could have been any of 7 on the bench. So you had Bale, you had Vinicius, you had James Rodriguez, you had Isco, like so many options. So I've no idea who Zidane's going to call upon tomorrow night, but whoever it is, it's going to be a strong team, and you would fancy them to do it because Valencia are very light at the back, and I think up front they're always a threat, like with Rodrigo Moreno and Gomez, and I think Ferran Torres was rested against Levante in the Valencian derby, so he'll probably come back in, and he's another outlet that they have alongside
Soler as well. Soler,
yeah. They have quality going forward. Definitely do. I think Madrid will be too strong for them.
Yeah, especially at the back. Do you think Diakabi will get a game? I mean, this is the thing. After that, I mean, that you've got a feel for him because it's, you know, he is a good player. He really is. wouldn't be there if he wasn't a good player, but he just has this thing of making stupid fouls, getting sent off, and that one against Levante, getting giving away the free kick and then the penalty, which came from the free kick. It's not the first time he's done something like that. He did a similar thing against Atalanta and got sent off. He's not in the good books at all. Likewise, Guillamon, who has looked quite promising, he's not going to renew his contract. News just came out. I don't know if it was today or yesterday, but he's not going to renew. Yeah. So, wow. Yeah, I think it was yesterday it came out. So they're going to have to reconstruct, I think, the centre half positions. I do imagine that Diakabi's. I don't like to say that somebody's finished at a club, but he's definitely not in anybody's good books, neither the fans nor probably his teammates. So they are looking pretty flimsy at the back. I mean, who have they got on the bench? Mangala?
That's why they brought Guillamon in. Sorry, because they were so light. Garay was injured, and Diakabi's still only 23 and hasn't played many games at senior level, only 39. So that is called him out in his press conference after the game against Levante for his handball, and you'd imagine his confidence isn't very high, but they've nobody really else in the squad. So I think he will start tomorrow night because they are that light. But that's big news. I didn't know that Guillamon wasn't re-signing. That's they're going to lose a big player there, and supposedly Barcelona are interested. So maybe that's the reason why.
Yeah, well, that was the current situation at the time of recording. Anyway, was that he's not going to renew. I mean, could change, but yeah, not good. They do have Mangala on the bench. You never know. Could be his time. No.
Yeah, I don't think he fancies him. Calling Guillamon in for his La Liga start, his first ever start there last week, it kind of says that he doesn't fancy Mangala. But we'll see tomorrow. I think he probably will go with Diakabi because if he doesn't start him, that's a huge statement. Like, he's after slating him in the media, and then he doesn't start him. He's literally saying, "I don't want you here."
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Going back to Madrid, we have to talk about this, and I don't really like talking about it, but it's a constant thing here. The press have been out. Knives have been out for Gareth Bale again in the press. Multiple articles just having a go at his attitude. I mean, I'm not joking. 3 or 4 days ago, there were articles in the press saying that he was back on it. He was enchufadísimo, which means he's like buzzing, he's ready to go and all that kind of stuff. Bale's back and all that. He plays 29 minutes against Eibar when the game's already won. The game had been won in the first half. Lo and behold, he doesn't score a hat-trick. He doesn't inspire the team particularly. So he's public enemy number one again. And they're digging out all the old cliches about the guy, that he's done nothing since Ukraine, since scoring the goal in the Champions League final. Statistic, like, he scored 17 goals in his last 68 games, and that he's not been worth the money. And they've also been highlighting what's apparently a broken relationship between himself and Zidane. That was the title, the headline in Marca yesterday, was that the relationship between Zidane and Bale is broken. Let's entertain this for a second. How bad is the relationship between these guys? Is there any news here, or is it just another case of the Spanish press recycling old tat against Bale for the sake of doing it?
Yeah, it's been going on so long now, hasn't it? Like, maybe 6 years now at this stage. We're all sick of it when it comes out, and it's just every time you look at it and you're like, yeah, whatever, on to the next page, and churning out the same miserable stuff about poor Bale. I'm a big fan of Gareth Bale, and I don't mind how he lives his life. People slate him because he's on 600 grand a week and he doesn't talk to the media. Who cares? He plays golf. He gets on with it. People say he doesn't speak Spanish. That's because he just doesn't want to entertain the media. The media who's basically got this image of him, and he's a monster. And then last week or a couple of weeks ago, he did this interview with this golf YouTuber. I can't remember his name.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, so basically, like, Mark came out then, they're like, oh, he's actually human. Like, in other words, he's actually giving interviews and he's talking to people. And, totally disrespectful. Like, you've got obligations, okay? I suppose when you join a team, you've got obligations, and maybe if you're joining Real Madrid, because there's such a big fan base around the world, people want to see you, they want to hear from you. You're constantly in the limelight, but maybe he's just an introverted guy. He seems like a shy guy, and he just doesn't want to be in the middle of it. And Ramos would rather take the lead on that sort of stuff, or Benzema or Marcelo, happier guys that are okay to put their face in front of the camera. But Bale's just living over there. He's living the dream. He plays off 3 in golf. He's a member of a golf club in Madrid. He plays on various different courses, he was saying in his interview on that YouTube channel. And he seems like a really, really nice, down-to-earth guy, like just like one of the lads, like no airs and graces. And he sees football more as a job now, whereas he goes out and he enjoys golf. Like he said, like he's able to just go out and get the job done with football. Like he's able to focus in that type of way. Mm-hmm. But the golf is kind of like his getaway from it all, and that's kind of like his hobby. And he really just enjoys that. And I think he's at a stage now where he's on over €500,000 a week. His kids are growing up in Madrid. He's got a lovely life there, good weather, and he's happy out. And he knows that because he isn't the same player he was when he first joined that team, that he's going to get a move maybe to China, and he doesn't want to go there, or a move to America, and he's going to be on half. Nobody can pay his wages. Mm-hmm. So he's thinking, why would I go somewhere else that I don't even want to go to? I don't want to go to a country like that. He's not even, supposedly now, there's always been rumours going around that he's not even that big of a fan of football anymore. Like he's kind of not fed up of it, but just sees it as a job. He's just like getting through it now. He's in the latter phases of his career, and like he's still only 30. Like he could have a couple of good years in him if. See, here I am now saying if he's bothered. Again, that's the media kind of helping me make my own views on Bale. But yeah, if he's willing to actually keep going with it, I think like obviously there's talk of Zidane not favouring him, and that's pretty obvious when Zidane picks a starting 11. Bale hasn't been in it that many times this season, so I don't think there's been a big falling out. Like Zidane's really quiet. He keeps his cards close to his chest in press conferences, and he doesn't reveal anything. And he's so well respected. I'm sure there's a mutual respect between him and Zidane, between Bale and Zidane. And because like you're reading these articles saying that they've fallen out, there hasn't been any incidents. So like we haven't seen anything. There's no story there. It's just the same stuff being churned out. And Bale he's in the squad now and he's fit, so he might get some time before the end of the season. And then I really don't see him leaving, because who's going to be able to come in for him? Especially now with the current transfer market and the way that is. And he's contracted there until 2022, so he's got 2 more years left of earning huge money. And he's probably thinking, I'm a professional footballer, I need to cash in now. I need to make as much as possible. And he's happy out there to go along with it. And like if you look at his CV, and people forget his goal in the Copa del Rey final against Valencia, he ran from the halfway line, skinned Marc Bartra and won the cup for Madrid. He scored big Champions League goals. He's won 4 Champions Leagues. But people only think about his ankle injuries,
his ankles,
and different calf strains he's picked up. It's that's just the way it is.
I don't understand. I don't understand that criticism. I just don't understand it. Did Van Basten get that criticism from the AC Milan fans when his ankles were going? I don't think so. Like Van Basten had to retire at like 28 or something, because his ankles were completely shot to pieces because he was getting kicked. That was before the tackle from behind rule and all that kind of stuff. And he'd been, his ankles were destroyed. I don't remember the AC Milan fans getting on his back about that. It was just accepted that it was an injury they had. Footballers get injuries. I just don't.
Yeah.
I don't understand that being a legitimate complaint. Highlight the goals if you have to. Maybe he should have been scoring more goals, but he's not been playing fully fit. He's not been getting full games. When they say he's played 68 games, well, how many games has he started and finished? Take that into account as well.
Yeah, and who wants to be injured all the time? Like they make it out as if he's intended to get injured.
Yep. Yeah, but it fits into this lazy narrative. It's like, all right, he's going to go off and play golf, but he doesn't want to play football. Or that he likes playing for Wales and he doesn't like playing for Madrid. It's very easy and lazy, criticism of the guy. The thing is, see if his hobby was reading books, if he chose to read books to unwind, nobody would see that. You don't drive to a place to read books, you do it in your house, but you drive to a golf course, you get snapped playing golf, by the press and all that kind of stuff. It's just such an easy target.
I know.
But yeah, it's one of these things. He actually, in that golf interview, I didn't watch all of it, but the main headline that came out for that, which seemed to be a revelation in the Spanish press, was he said that I play worse when the fans whistle me. And it's like, well, yeah, that does make sense. But it seemed to be a big surprise that who knew that whistling your players doesn't make them feel particularly good, But it's like a tradition here with some sections of particularly the Madrid support. They're not the only team that does it. Barca's done it in the past, and some other ones do it, but it's particularly bad towards him. And I just think it's fueled by the press and and lazy journalism. But it's got completely out of control.
He gets the sort of abuse that players in the Premier League get against former fans.
Yeah.
So fans of their previous club. That's the abuse he gets off his own supporters. Mm-hmm. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I will. I think he's happy. It's a thing we can take away from it. So if he's happy,
I think he's beating the media. I think he's happy on his golf course, not giving interviews.
Yeah, I think
they can rant away all day. He doesn't care.
Yeah. I know, that's it. Yeah, and I think that only makes him more annoyed because he won't talk to them. It's not that he won't talk. He's happy to talk to a golf podcast, but he's not going to talk to you. And that probably doesn't sit well with the egos of some of these guys. So, yeah, absolutely. Right. Anything else you want to talk about? I mean, we could talk all day about the games that are coming up, but in any case, we'll be back on Saturday, for a live stream on Instagram.
We've been getting a lot of good feedback from the live streams. So yeah, we'll keep them coming over the weekend. Saturday evening. Yeah,
probably around 7:00. It depends when the fixtures are on Saturday. But last week we did it at 7:00 Spanish time, 6:00 Irish or British time. We'll confirm it at a later date. But you can follow us on Instagram at Talk Football Podcast, isn't it, or is it at Football? Not Talk Football Pod.
Yeah, Talk Football Podcast on Instagram. Exactly.
Talk Football Podcast.
Talk Football Podcast on YouTube as well. Same name.
Yep, and Twitter, but the Twitter handle is Talk Football Pod, or you can follow Kieran Quayle. You're Kieran Quayle 90 on Twitter.
K Quayle 90.
K Quayle 90, and you can follow me, Tommy Hate 94 on Twitter. So follow one of those, and you'll get an update at some point for the next live stream. Our next podcast will also be next Wednesday as well. So yeah, plenty of stuff, plenty of football, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you for joining us, and hasta luego.
Adios.